The NHL postseason continues to be an absolute spectacle, and I have to break down some of my favorite fantasy pieces that have already drastically improved their value for next season. I'm teeing up game 4 between the Oilers and Knights. I'm going solo today, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Let's get right to it.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, everybody, and welcome back inside the lab. That is the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Today, it's just me, your boy, Big Flip Livingstone, holding it down for y'all, and thank you for making us your first listen every single day. We really appreciate it. Steele's not here to hold that down, but I am. And honestly, guys, over the weekend, I saw a lot of different things from both the Carolina Hurricanes and the New Jersey Devils series. And of course, this series between the Edmonton Oilers and the Vegas Golden Knights just went up a few notches in intensity. I'm going to talk about my weekend takeaways. I'm going to talk about the teeing up of game 4 between the Vegas Golden Knights and Edmonton Oilers. And I want to get to a couple of my fantasy pieces that have drastically improved their fantasy value so far this postseason. That means you got to keep your eye on these guys for next season. I got a few bets for Monday night as well. Thank you for joining me for this solo episode. I appreciate it, and I hope you've enjoyed all of our coverage throughout the postseason so far. We got a lot more coming, and let's dive right into it, my friends. I got to talk about first the response from this New Jersey Devils team. An 8 spot hung on a Carolina Hurricanes team that obviously hangs its hat in the defensive zone of the game. And maybe some people were ready to write off this New Jersey Devils team. I'm still sticking to my prediction of Carolina Hurricanes in 6, but you got to give this young Devils team their credit. And I alluded to a number of times over the course of the season, and if you have been listening, much love. Make sure you hammer that subscribe button. And if you're on the Spotify side of things, Apple Music, drop us that 5-star review if you're feeling it. If not, feedback's key for us. We always say that because it's true. But honestly, New Jersey and Jack Hughes is what I needed to get to right off the jump. 2 goals, 2 assists in a massive response for a Devils team that also switched it up in the cage, going with Vitek Vanacek. Does he allow 4 goals on only 30 shots? Yes, he does, but he's good enough to get the win for this Devils team. That confidence is everything when a team is this young and its core is this young. We expected the New Jersey Devils, with all of the young pieces in the mix that we like to talk about on the regular, don't need to go down that path, to be a very good team over the next couple of years. And here they are already being this good. Nice response from them. The 8 piece is obviously something that is going to give this team confidence. I'm still riding with the Carolina Hurricanes. I'm so comfortable with that 6-game prediction. They're going to have to be better defensively. And you know that they're going to have a big, big bounce back performance in game 4. But those first 2 games, they were absolutely dominant. And Freddie Anderson lets in a few softies here in this return to Jersey in game 3. But I think at the end of the day, what you got to take away from this one is, aside from Carolina being locked in those first 2 games, which when they play their game, I think this series is in the bag, Jack Hughes, that's the focus for me, guys. This guy is literally, in my opinion, offensively, when he stays healthy, maybe that's too many caveats, he's going to be a top 15 fantasy piece. Steele's not here to disagree with me. He will be back for tomorrow's episode. Make sure you tune in for that. But at the end of the day, for me, Jack Hughes, he's got to be right at the top of your list, especially if you're in a deep draft. And let's say you're drafting in the 9, 10, or 11 or 12 spot. You're in that deep of a draft. Jack Hughes, for me, is going to be right around that 15th spot drafted. So if you're liking him as much as I am, and of course, the pieces that are involved with this New Jersey Devils team over the next number of years, this team isn't going anywhere. And I'm going to get to that when I talk about my 3 fantasy pieces that have already drastically improved their value for next season. And I'm not done talking about the Hughes family either. So I'm going to get there. Going to talk a little bit about game 4 between the Oilers and Golden Knights and my big time bets. But let me shift to my takeaways from the weekend over to the Edmonton Oilers. They also respond. Devils respond in a big way. Oilers respond in a big way. And I mentioned at length over the last few episodes, and this isn't rocket science or a bold take. Connor McDavid plays at the level that we know he can, that he did all year, taking it to a whole other gear of his game, beating opponents and defenders by a step or a step and a half. He had that speed once again in game 3. And no one in the league can handle it. Not even the balanced attack, balanced defense of the Vegas Golden Knights. Boissat has been holding it down, but he might be Swiss cheese right now over the next couple of games if McDavid can continue to do what he has done all year long, but especially in game 3. Big response from the Oilers. Stuart Skinner. Let me pull up my notes, everybody. We got this old school pen and paper here. Skinner stops 30 of 31 shots. Big response from him as well. And obviously, the key for this Oilers team is the power play. This game got really, really chippy. It got ugly at times. A bunch of bad penalties from actually both teams at times, but especially the Vegas Golden Knights. And all of the post-game comments, you could tell how much this Oilers team likes playing on the power play. And Vegas better wake up, because you can see the confidence of all of those forwards the second that they know McDavid and Draisaitl have an extra man on their side. That's almost not even fair. So if Vegas wants to hang around in this series again, everyone knows that I'm heavy on the Oilers right now. I believe I had the Oilers in 6 as well. Sticking to that prediction heavily. Evan Bouchard, another great game. Going to talk about him in terms of fantasy value, of course. Hey, when Draisaitl is doing historically good things, the power play is starting to perform at a historically good clip. Let me turn over this page, because those 3 power play goals in game 3 pushes the Oilers' power play percentage so far this postseason to 56% through 8 games. That's the best in NHL history. Full stop right there. I'm not getting that wrong. Everybody knows I'm a bit dodgy with the numbers at times, but Oilers at 56% so far through 8 postseason games, that's the best ever. I don't think Vegas is done in this series, but if the Oilers continue to get all of that momentum from the power play and McDavid, 2 goals and an assist from McDavid in game 3, that season level performance, regular season level performance that we saw from McDavid, and if you didn't see that shorthanded goal that he had blowing past the D and poking it in with one hand on the shorty, that might be most indicative of where I think this series might be headed. Of course, I am invested in them. I'm going to have some bets that you might want to invest in after the break. I will also tee up game 4 very quickly between the Oilers and Knights, and I got my 3 favorite fantasy pieces that you might need to watch that have already drastically improved their value for next year's draft. But today's episode is brought to you by Indeed. Indeed is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. Instead of spending hours on multiple job sites searching for candidates with the right skills, Indeed's powerful hiring platform has you all covered. Streamlining hiring powers with tools that find you match candidates right away. Instant match. Over 80% of employers get quality candidates whose resume on Indeed matches their job description the moment they sponsor a job, according to Indeed data.us. You need Indeed to hire faster, and the Indeed work does all the hard work for you. Shows you the candidates whose resumes on Indeed fit your description immediately after you post, so you can hire faster. Starting right now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/lockedon. Offer is good for a limited time. You can claim your $75 credit right now at Indeed.com/lockedon. Make sure you head over to Indeed, the hiring partner that you need. Today's episode is brought to you by Indeed. You know, this is Steele's part, but thank you for making us your first listen every single day. We are part of the Locked On Network, your team every single day. And shout out to all of our everydayers. Thank you for making us your first listen. And make sure you tune in to tomorrow's episode where Steele will be back and we'll be covering all of Tuesday's action. And let me just kick off very quickly before I get to the couple of highlights that I think both Vegas and Edmonton are going to need to pay attention for game 4 tonight. Only game on the docket, and then I'll go right into my bets. There's a few players that have already stepped out during this postseason. There's a lot of players that are already out, but I wanted to focus on some that are in, and that's a one big caveat for my third guy. But Evan Bouchard, I think, has to be spoken about. I can't come on the show. I continue to say it, obviously, because it was a guy that I mentioned a long time ago. But when Tyson Barrie was traded at the deadline, a lot of people were questioning, why would you move one of the key pieces to the key reasons this Edmonton Oilers team is so good, the power play? This team, Ken Holland, obviously had a very strong confidence in Evan Bouchard's ability, taken a little bit to develop. He's leading defensemen in points with 14 in this playoff. He's a very smart player. He's not going to out grit you. He's not going to out hit you. Very smart player, good offensive piece. For me, his ability to stay connected to this power play, one that is clearly elite and at the top of the table on power play goals for a reason. Evan Bouchard's value next year as an offensive defenseman is right through the roof. And I don't know if I'm ready to put him like right in the top 10, but he's going to be very, very close for me in terms of offensive output. That's not a bold take, because also he's proving right now at the most important and clutch time of the season, which you love to see from a guy that at the end of the day, yeah, he's taken a little bit of time to develop, but he is a 10th overall draft pick. He's 23. He's entering his prime, going to be 24 next season. Man, I love a piece of Evan Bouchard. And if you can go out there and get him, I really think he's already proved that his value is about to skyrocket. He's moving way up in the drafts next year. And another player, Phillip Grubauer, has been solid this postseason, and I think I wanted to give him some honorable mention, and I wanted to give Matt Knies some honorable mention, but I also wanted to give Wyatt Johnsoon some honorable mention on the Dallas Stars, because I think there's all these players that have already proven at a clutch time. Grubauer's a bounce back situation, but Knies and Johnson, I think, are going to get a really good chance next year to be a part of two very solid teams in the Maple Leafs and Dallas Stars. And I know I'm not saying my top three. This isn't a top three. It's just some of my favorite players. And I know Knies, Johnson, Grubauer, that's three right there. Give me a break here, people. Going solo. So I'm throwing out some players that I think have performed really well so far, and whose value next season you might be able to jump on if you pay attention to them right now. If you're feeling it, make sure you jot these down, because I think, aside from what I've seen from all of the players that I just mentioned, Grubauer stepped up in a huge way. Obviously, right there at the top of the reasons the Seattle Kraken are where they are right now. Wyatt Johnson and Matt Knies are two young players that I think are set to pop off. And my last player, I know he's only played one game in the postseason, but Luke Hughes, I alluded to it at the top of the show. Not done talking about this Hughes family. Big season at Michigan, 48 points in 39 games, fourth overall pick, 2 assists in his debut against the Carolina Hurricanes, looking confident, getting power play time. And perhaps my favorite little tidbit and piece of why I think Luke Hughes is going to have a big time fantasy jump in value for next season, even if you're in those deeper leagues, keeping your eye on him as a young player. He's going to get to play on the New Jersey Devils, along with some really good pieces on the back end in Dougie Hamilton, Severson, and others. And of course, just a good young offensive team that isn't going anywhere in that Metro division. So especially if you're in a keeper dynasty league and you're looking to invest in a good young D-man, Luke Hughes is starting to really impress me. So those are a few of those pieces fantasy-wise that already this postseason have definitely boosted their value. But to be honest, aside from Matt Knies, who is a bit of an unknown, and Luke Hughes, okay, Bouchard, Grubauer, Johnson, those all should have been players that may be on your radar for bounce backs next year after what they've done this season as well. Loving all of those players. Make sure you keep those in mind. We're going to have a lot of draft content coming up over the next couple of weeks, especially into the summer, people. We're getting serious from the jump, because we want to help you make this paper. Coming up with big time bets as where we'll also tee up very quickly game 4 between the Knights and Oilers for Monday night. But today's episode is also brought to you by our friends at Built Bar. Looking for a delicious snack, but you don't want all of those sugar and calories? You need to be tasting the best protein bar ever. That's Built, and you got to try it. What makes Built so good? For starters, all covered in 100% real dark chocolate. That's right. Real chocolate, Steele's favorite. They come in unbelievably good flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, and cookies and cream. We're not sure how Built does it every time, but these bars taste like a candy bar while maintaining those amazing macros. What's even better is they're healthy, only 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, and a whopping 17 grams of protein. And while you can still hit up built.com to get all of your Built needs, you can head down to Sam's Club, you can head down to your local Walmart and pick up all the delicious flavors from Built. That's right. Head to your nearest Walmart today. Hit the pharmacy section and grab yourself a box of Built. You can pick up a 4-bar box of cookies and cream, double chocolate, or coconut puff. If you're close to a Sam's Club, run in, hit yourself a 13-bar box with all of the best flavors: brownie batter puff, churro puff, and thank us later. That's Built and Built.com for all the delicious flavors. Whew! Let me grab a little sip here, people. Thank you so much for joining me for Monday's episode of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Running solo, I miss my boy Steele. He'll be back tomorrow for Tuesday's episode. We'll tee up all of Tuesday night's action and everything we saw from Monday's game between these Vegas Golden Knights and Edmonton Oilers. McDavid stepped out in game 3 in a very big way. Yes, Skinner responded. The whole team responded. I think now what the Oilers have working for them, one of my main takeaways is Matthias Ekholm coming in, Evan Bouchard stepping up, and of course, Darnell Nurse has been their anchor defensively for the last couple of years. Now, all of a sudden, they have 3 very good defensemen. They haven't had that over the last number of years, and they have been knocking on the door as one of the best teams in the West. I don't need to elaborate any further. If Stuart Skinner can even make a few big saves a series here, this is still my favorite for the Stanley Cup, and it was my cup pick at the start of the postseason before the puck even dropped. So going into this game 4, I think Vegas needs to be careful with taking how many penalties they did. I think they've really fired up some of the grittier pieces on this team up front offensively for sure. Evander Kane looks like he's ready to go. Zach Hyman is, I think, a sleeping giant. We know he can step up in the clutch, and we know his game so much suits postseason action. When the games get grittier, that's when I feel Zach Hyman steps up. If the Vegas Golden Knights can manage to stay out of the box, I don't think this series is even close to done. So I'm not trying to detract at all. I've talked a lot about the Edmonton Oilers today, of course, because that was the team that deserved being spoken about after that game 3 performance. But Vegas is a balanced team, and unfortunately, they've dealt with a rash of different injuries and situations to that goaltending core, which also speaks to, at volume, how quality that roster is and how it's been managed. At the end of the day, I am still going to side with the Edmonton Oilers in this game, and I'll get to my bets in a second. Vegas needs to clearly stay out of the box. They're going to need a bounce-back performance from Boissat and their top guns, Mark Stone, Jack Eichel. This isn't exactly a bold take here, people, but their best pieces need to be their best, because you're going up against now an Edmonton Oilers group building confidence, and clearly when they play their game, they can skate circles around the opposition, and that includes this Vegas Golden Knights team. So that's what I feel going into this one, game 4, Monday night. Oilers 7-2-1 in their last 10 games. And let me hit you with my bets for tonight. I do have 3. I hope you've been enjoying this solo episode, everybody. Make sure you hit me in the comments, even for me. Steele's not here. Let me know what you're feeling about your boy. Make sure you drop a comment on the YouTube channel, a review online, DM us on Twitter. We're here for y'all. Monday's bets. Let me kick it off. I'll do it in reverse tonight just because I am here by myself. My lock of the night, it's the over 6.5. I think that just this series is going to continue to get chippy. I don't believe in Vegas's ability to completely stay out of the box, especially after clearly Evander Kane's situation with Kolesar. this is now going to be a very fun series. I don't think the physicality or chippy nature is going anywhere. And I think that's going to lead to actually special teams on both sides. But exactly that, over 6.5. If there's going to be as many special team opportunities as I think there will be, this 6.5 is safe at -135. That is my lock of the night. My second favorite pick, I think the Oilers are going to flex their muscle one more time. I think Bouchard now has been shell-shocked a little bit after seeing what a McDavid-led performance can do. He's already been having trouble handling Leon Draisaitl, and if not for a couple of bad performances from Stuart Skinner and that blue line crew, I think this series would be a lot more crooked in Edmonton's advantage. So give me the Oilers on the money line as my second favorite pick, -170. I think this is obviously it's a pivotal game for both teams, but I think if the Oilers can take this game, sorry, I keep saying game 3. This is game 3. Headed into, sorry, this is game 3. Geez, you know me, people. Holy. If they can take this game 3 back at home, it's going to be huge for them. And look, I'm very confident in their ability to take this one by 1 or 2 goals. Didn't want to go to the point line, sorry, puck line, but Oilers money line -170. I'm going to spit these words out, everybody. And lastly, I think they've also stirred the beast in Evander Kane. The Vegas Golden Knights better be careful with what they're doing by trying to throw their weight around a little bit too much, because I think this Oilers team is also built to handle a rough and tumble game. Vegas is a big bruising team, but I think the Oilers are game to keep that physicality level near and match what the Vegas Golden Knights are bringing. And be careful what you wish for with pissing off Evander Kane. And yeah, I said the pissing off word. Careful, kids, earmuffs. Evander Kane, anytime goal. He only has 3 goals and an assist so far this postseason. And I think after that fiery game 2 performance, hey, I got it, everybody, you're going to see another Evander Kane, maybe more similar to last postseason, where he went absolutely beast mode. That's what I expect actually from the Oilers overall. So give me the over. That's my lock, 6.5. Give me the Oilers. That's my second favorite bet on the money line. And give me the Evander Kane anytime goal. That's my final pick. That's the end of today's episode, Monday's episode. Thank you, all you everydayers, for making us your first listen every single day and for tuning in to the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, part of the Locked On Network, your team every day. I'll be back with Steele tomorrow for Tuesday's episode. Thank you for joining us. Good luck with all your bets out there, and we'll see you tomorrow.